I guess so, yeah. I mean, the photo today is a great opportunity to appreciate it. You see everybody for the first time post-celebration, and it sinks in. You go out, and it's usually the team photo, and my experience is not the most happy day. Usually somewhat grumpy, and it's much earlier than 11, and you make you come in at 7 o'clock in the morning so you can get everybody out of town quick, and it's very sour looking. But so today was fun, and I'm excited for our staff and for our players, and it was great. Yeah.
Kyle, how important was it? And the players have talked about this, the coaches talked about it, that even after you were named GM of the Leafs, they said you were here every day, you were on the road with them when you could, and just staying true to what the Marlies were doing.
Well, I think Mike, like the people here, I've asked a lot from them throughout the year, and I put a lot of pressure and demands on our staff and our players day in and day out. So I feel that the only thing that I can do to pay them back and owe them is to be here to help them, give them the resources to reach their potential as staff and as players, and they had given me that the whole entire year, and really for the 4 years I've been here. So there was not a chance that I was going to reduce my commitment and my time, and that was one thing that I talked to Brendan about during that whole process. And I think the whole organization saw this as an important spring for this group, and really it was a pleasure for me to be here every day. It wasn't like, if they're making it seem like it was something more than it was, I think they maybe have it a bit wrong, and that it was just as much my pleasure as maybe they think it was for me to be here. I was more enthused to be around them.
Fans and media are still trying to, everyone's getting to know each other with you and fans and the media. That picture of you getting the cup, did you expect that emotion to bubble up like that? And you're showing your competitive side, your emotional side there?
That's me, I guess. When things are exciting, I get excited. I try to always maintain calm and be fairly stoic, but when things are exciting on that side of it, I think you should show your emotion. That was my wife's number one request to me when I took the Leafs job, was that I would still maintain that part of me, and it won't happen every single day, but if we get to June and things go our way, I'll be excited. That's what you can expect, because it's exciting. It's a long road for everybody. You go through a lot with the people here in the course of a season. You have lots of ups and downs. For some of the people I've worked with for 7 years. So I was so excited for them, and that's just how it came out. So I don't apologize for it. That's that.
Given the success that Sheldon's had here, do you think you're going to be able to keep him as a coach for next season?
Yeah, that's a question more for Sheldon, I think. He's earned everything that comes his way next. It's been a great journey with him, however long it goes for. We'll tackle that as it comes along, and different opportunities present themselves for him, Chris, but he's earned everything that comes his way next, and I'm so excited for him and so happy for him that he was able to be a part of this and lead this team to the win on Thursday. The way that he handled 2 instances in the finals were the best I've ever seen him, and I've heard some of the players tell him today about his evolution. But going into Game 5 in Austin, and then going into the Game 7 here after a difficult Game 6, I think, if you're looking at a coach, you want to know how they're going to handle those ups and downs, and especially in the highest pressure situation, the finals. That was the best I've seen him. The X's and O's part, I never, ever worry about with him. Seeing his evolution and his presentation to the team, his communication to the team, and his leadership at those times when it's tough, when you start, fear and doubt does creep in. When you are on the road and you're in a Game 5, you could go down 3-2, or you're at home now, you're going into Game 7 after not a great loss in Game 6. So to see the way he handled that was unbelievable, and that was a big reason why we won.
Any other organizations asked permission to talk to him?
Not at this time.
How quickly now do you turn the page and get ready for your first draft as the general manager of the Maple Leafs?
The draft preparation has been ongoing. It's just that some days I wish we had more hours. with everything that's happened. But the area directors of our scouting staff and Reed Mitchell have been unbelievable in helping to push the process along. And we had scouting meetings all week during the day here this week. We had the combine. The schedule here, we owe these guys a lot for the second round series where we had that huge break. It perfectly coincided with the availability to start some, doing some preparation on it. Sorry, the third round, because that let me get to the combine. So the Lehigh Valley series ending in 4 was huge for me because it let me get to preparing for the draft more, and then that just carried on all this week, and that's obviously the major focus right now is draft and free agency.
What's your philosophy going into it? So you have that late round pick that could be a lot of moving parts at that.
Yeah.
It just, I nailed down a list, Kyle, but what's your philosophy going into that first round?
The positive that I say is that in 2015, having that 2015 draft under my belt is great, and it's not going to be an unknown going in onto the draft floor in Dallas in this position. So in that draft, we had the 24th pick that we started with, and then we ended up moving back twice, and we ended up with Travis Dermott, Jeremy Bracco out of that. So you kind of have a sense of how it goes, and being able to watch Lou the last 2 years at the draft has been a major boost for me and how he handled interactions with GM. So we have that 2015 experience, the 2 years watching and learning from Lou. So we'll just roll along, and it's a great opportunity for us to add. Right now we have 7 picks, so it's 7 young people we can add to our organization and put them into this development system and just keep rolling along, we hope.
Sorry, do you have any interest in moving up in the first round?
We have interest in whatever we can do. I know a lot of people say, well, he's only a trade down person. I don't know how that's got to that point. I guess we did it twice, so sure. But I think if there's an opportunity for us to add players that can help our team, we have the capital in draft choices to be able to do so. So I don't ever go into it saying we're going to do X and Y. We're going to do whatever we can do to help the team and keep it moving ahead. So if that's move up, move down, stay in the same spot, and pick a player we like, that's what we'll do.
Kyle, the trade deadline doesn't seem to have as much traction anymore in terms of players moving as it does around the draft now, especially with salary cap era, teams trying to move salary and stuff like that. We saw the first kind of major deal go down yesterday. Has there been a lot of chatter, or other GMs have been saying in the last week it's really slow?
Yeah, when I first came into the job in mid-May, I think with everyone over at the World Championships, it seemed very slow, relatively speaking, and then really from the combine on, I've noticed a big uptick in communications and really talks between teams on what they're looking to do, and so we have that sense. And it seems that the draft, yes, Mike, I'd agree, in the last number of years, in the week up to the draft and the week after into free agency, seems to be a lot more action than there was in the past, and makes it exciting for the media, I'm sure. But I just look at it as another opportunity. If discussions are happening, we can improve our team, then we'll take them.
When you've got decisions on UFAs and RFAs and all that coming up, does it help a bit that how well you know the players down here and some of the guys that maybe you've already in your own mind penciled in as having a chance to take the spots of maybe some guys that will be back?
I think the guys here, I know them because I've been with them. Some of them, if you look at a Justin Hall for 3 full seasons every day. But some of the other, but more importantly than to me is I think that what this run afforded these players was the opportunity to increase how other people in the organization view them, because now they're like the Leafs. We ended late April. It was a month and a half or 6 weeks where they could watch these players every single game without anything else to watch aside from the NHL playoffs. So I think what that afforded these players was now it's not just me. It's that everyone can see what they are capable of day in and day out, game in and game out. And then I've had a lot of people ask me, does the run change your view on players? Similar to your question, I think all it does is it affirms that the players in here are capable in very difficult circumstances and very tough series of continuing to perform at their highest level, and that's exciting for our whole organization.
You were really involved in Orlando with Drake and their staff, that kind of thing. Just how did the Growlers come together, and how does that change things?
I think it was a slam dunk for us with the team's history in St. John's. Being here, I'd never been to St. John's before. I started with the Leafs and traveling out there with the Marlies, and the first time we went there, I don't know if anyone here would have traveled out there. Todd is somewhere here, but to see the way that it's really a Toronto Maple Leafs city, and to see the amount of support for the Leafs and Marlies whenever we were there, and how they revere the staff, whether it's Tom Watt or others who are members of our staff out there. it just seemed like a natural fit. So once they lost the American League team last year, started with a brief conversation at the Board of Governor meeting with Glenn Stanford, and then Glennie really made the whole thing come together through the year. It's a natural fit for us. Keeps all of our players in Canada. Travel will be about the same for them as it was going back and forth here as it was to Orlando. So it's exciting and a great opportunity for us to continue to grow the Maple Leaf brand in an area where they love the Maple Leafs. So it's exciting for us.
What do you think of the idea that Kyle Dubas has to make a big splash in his first few months as a Leafs GM to catch attention?
It doesn't affect me. I think we have to make good decisions. So I don't think I have to do anything big just to do so. I think that would be a disservice to the organization. Frankly, it's not about me. It's about the players and the coaches. So I don't feel there's any need for me to do anything that isn't right for the organization. If what people describe as a big splash happens to make our team a lot better, then we'll do it, but it's not something that's important to me at all.
It's a question that comes up, around the draft every once in a while. How much does positional need factor into a draft opposed to just taking the best player available?
And positional need to me, zero. Well, we want to find the best players and draft them and bring them in, and we can sort that out through trades and waivers after. But the more good players we can get in, the better.
Sheldon talked about his evolution since you guys first got together, and for you over these last few years here, how has that sort of changed, or how have you evolved in your own role in preparation for what you're about to do?
I don't know. It's probably other people could probably describe it better. I've been very, very fortunate in my time in Sault Ste. Marie and here to be put in a position where I could learn a lot all the time, and I've just always tried to take advantage of it. I think I have a lot to learn still. I think every day I can learn and get better. I think I owe it to the organization to be learning and improving all the time, to be evolving when things don't go right, both in the Sioux and with the Leafs and with the Marlies. This is the first time where it's been at the end of the year and there hasn't been major disappointment. And I always felt that I owed it to the coaches and the players, whether it was personnel or improving the way that I operate or different things we can bring into the organization, that I owed it to everybody within whatever organization was employing me to get better and improve our program. And that's all I've really tried to do. The specifics of it, they could probably tell you more than I could. But I've been very fortunate to work with the people that I've got to work with. Sheldon, it's obviously the most noted one because we've been together for a very long time. But there's a lot of support staff in there that have been a huge influence on me and helping me improve every day.
Kyle, have you made any firm decisions with your UFAs to move on from any of them?
Not necessarily firm. I think the door is always open. We're evaluating where things are at, and we have until they can start talking to teams on June 25th. We'll just take our time that we're afforded here and continue to stay in touch with their respective representatives and roll from there.
Have there been many talks? With those representatives, or
I'm not gonna get into. You'll never get that from me here. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I graduated from that school. So yeah.
did he show you anything about handling free agency?
2015? Yeah. I think it's tough to answer that, Jonas, because we're in a totally different situation now than we were at in 2015. In 2015, we were, I think we knew where we were at. Mike came into his press conference and promised that there would be pain. And our goal at that time was to sign players that, in the short term, we could help our competitiveness of our group. And if our team wasn't competitive, which we kind of had an idea that it wasn't, that they would be lucrative for other teams to acquire. So, not every one of those guys sort of panned out. But it was interesting to see the process and learn from that process how we handled it. We're at a totally different stage with our team now than we were in 2015 because we ended up finishing last. I'm sure that everyone remembers that year.
Well,
so
how is this year different? How do you see it?
Well, I think our team is way more competitive and with where we're at in our evolution as a franchise is way different. That year we had just come out, that year in 2014-15 we weren't very good, and then we finished last in 2015, and now we made the playoffs back-to-back years. I think the exciting part about it is that our young players are still certainly not even near their prime, so we're going to get some general progression from them, and it's up to us to push them to get there. But our franchise is at a totally different stage now.
So is the type of player that you go after different?
I think you're just more open to at that stage. It's tough to look and say, okay, we're gonna we want to sign these guys long term because they're difference makers. But now we have our own difference makers that are our core of our team. So now we can look and add guys who can perhaps complement our own core, which we didn't have back then. So it's nice to be there, and it's hats off to the development staff and Mike and his staff and the whole organization for getting us there.
To that end, Mike said after Game 7, he said, this was a nice run, but we have to learn to take the different stages. He talked to Terry yesterday and said the same thing. There's still 4 stages above where we went. What's your scouting report of where you are right now, and how far are you from these stages that Mike was talking about?
You're talking about the Game 7 against Boston,
Yes.
or okay? So, I think with where we're at, I think we know where we're at. In our division, we finished behind Boston and Tampa, and then we lost to Boston in round 1. So the way that I always look at things is I really focus on our division. The playoffs are divisional by and large, unless you get a crossover with a wild card team. But I really focus on our division. We know we finished behind Boston and Tampa. We know we have young players that are continuing to develop. We have to do everything we can, be as resourceful as we can to continue to see those young players develop and reach their potential. That's critical for us. And it's always trying to move ahead of those 2 teams that are ahead of us right now. And we also have teams, Florida at the end, in the second half of the year, as Bob Bugner settled in as coach, they made a strong run towards the playoffs. So they're gonna get better. They're gonna continue to come. And then we have teams that have been historically great franchises that are retooling, and they're going to be after us as well. So it's going to be difficult. We have to continue to be as resourceful as we can. We have a great coach in Mike. I expect that he'll get everything out of our group that we can, and it's up to me to continue to put our staff and our players in the best position we can, and to make acquisitions and moves that can continue to move us in that direction. And that's really be we'll walk out of here today, and that'll be it. That'll be my only focus.
Positionally, is there one place you'd like to strengthen more than any other?
I think anywhere we can get better, we will, and that's the stage that we're at. I think in the past maybe it was somewhat positional, like with Lou's trade for Freddie Anderson is huge for us. But other than that, now it's anywhere we can get better, we have to.
How many of these Marlies do you think will be in the mix for jobs with the Leafs?
I think a lot more than before the run started, because of the impression that they were able to make on the whole staff, and to see what they were able to do in a very tough environment. So I think some guys really, really stepped up as the year went on when things weren't going great for them. And they were excellent in the playoffs for us here. But they'll get their time off here. It's a short summer, but I think it keeps you pretty focused. You get 2 or 3 weeks here, and then you have 8 weeks to train and be ready to roll for next year.
How would you assess Timmy's first year?
I thought we had to make a decision on him at the beginning of the year about, do we have him go back to Rogla? Do we have him go to Niagara? Do we have him stay here? So we set out a plan and an exact process for him, which was going to be a reduced game schedule. You knew he was going to get the World Juniors. And then the key for me was that if he could come into the playoffs and be in the lineup every game in the playoffs, that would be great. But more importantly, the way that he developed defensively, the way that he was able to stand in and bounce back when things didn't go well. I thought Game 5 in Texas, Dermott was hurt, and I thought that was his best game of his entire season. Was Game 5 there in Texas. He made some excellent plays. The way he was able to stand in as the playoffs got very difficult and continue to make plays and get better, it's a massive experience for him. He's the youngest player playing by a pretty wide margin. And I thought even though his minutes at times in certain games when it wasn't going well for him were limited, I still think the minutes that he accrued over the year, but more importantly, the development that he did off the ice was outstanding. His commitment, his focus every day to reaching his potential. He's a very quiet, modest guy. Was unbelievable. So I thought it was a great year for him. Looking back on it, you always can kind of go through the choices you made, and I thought it was absolutely the right choice, and it was great to see him partake in every game in the playoffs. Outstanding.
After spending the last 4 years building this team yourself, what are the emotions now handing the reins over to Lawrence?
A lot easier going out this way than any other way, for sure. Lawrence is going to be great. We already have the relationships aren't really going to go anywhere. This is the easiest way ever possible to walk out of here today, so that'll be fun, and I'll still be around. I like to watch lots of hockey, so it's 5 minutes away, and I'll just come over and watch as much as I can, and that's just how we'll do it.